focus of your comment and your specific recommendation, was this concern recommendation addressed in the final EIS and record of decision?
Okay. All right. This has to do with my current bill, the HR 4402.
No, this was the last EIS, ma'am, back in
2009,
2010.
You go ahead.
Well,
He's
yes,
an
we did.
expert on the military bill.
We did submit formal comments to the draft EIS, and we can get you a copy of that. It focused on, there was a, if you remember, the last EIS was riddled with problems, right? There was a lot of significant issues. We tried to address the main problems, the biggest one being the issue of land acquisition, and addressing that of the firing range options, as well as, if you remember, the old EIS had the Marines having to get more land for their base, basically. We said, please look at other options. That was the main focus of it, that we heard through the public process that getting additional lands was a big hurdle. To your question, has the Navy acted on that in this EIS? Yes. That was the biggest issue, was land acquisition. And one of the reasons that the Retidian, or I should say the Northwest Field option, was selected as a preferred alternative is that does not take any additional local land. That is on Anderson Air Force Base, and the SDZ is over the wildlife refuge, which is federal property. So that was one of our main concerns in the comments. The other issue we had with the old EIS in the socioeconomic portion, I'd love to know who wrote it, because it was like, you know, as a professor, I was gagging when I was reading this, going, who the hell wrote this thing? So we had some real concerns about how local, cultural, and historical issues were addressed and articulated. We're starting to go through the new socioeconomic document. It seems better. I'm sure it could be improved, but it is better. So those were two of, I think, the major issues that we addressed. We also, I think, addressed some of the civilian infrastructure things and trying to make sure that as they moved along in the process, civilian infrastructure would be addressed. And it has been addressed. The last several years, the Department of Defense has put a lot of money into the budget particularly for water and wastewater. The challenge that we have had is that the Senate does not believe that the Department of Defense, and even some Republicans in the House believe, that the Department of Defense should not pay for civilian infrastructure on Guam. But we take a completely different point of view. So yes, we did make formal comments, and yes, we will make formal comments later on before this EIS process is completed.
What is the backstory to your introduction of this bill?
Well, just very briefly to begin with, HR 4402 would expedite the process of getting things in place. Now, when I first introduced it, there were some objections here, particularly from the original landowners. And so I thought about it, and rather than to go forward, I withdrew it. And of course, Mr. Herman here has handled all of this for me, so I withdrew it. And then I came out here, and I've had constant meetings from the time I stepped down from the plane with the original landowners, the legislature, the governor, all of the policymakers here. And I found I was very disappointed because when I withdrew it, although I believe that it's the right way to go, because, you know, if you don't go on with this, there's a great possibility that we'll lose this chance of locating the Marines here in Guam. They may go elsewhere. I know that Hawaii would love to have them.